Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. So we're tackling a really cool topic today, AI in healthcare. And, everyone's always talking about those crazy, futuristic sci-fi possibilities.
Robot doctors and all that.
Right. But what about the stuff that's happening right now? Like, how is AI actually impacting you and me today?
Yeah, that's the important part.
Well, lucky for us, we've got a fantastic article to guide our deep dive today. It's called Building Trust, Ethical AI for Better Healthcare.
Ooh, that sounds promising.
It is, it is. It's by Yu Watt, and he's really positioning this as a call to action for leaders in the healthcare field.
So are we ready to lead the charge?
I think we are, but first let's break down what Yu Watt's talking about. So one of the first things he emphasizes is that AI in healthcare, it's not some far-off thing.
It's already here.
Exactly. Like it's already making a difference.
Absolutely. And, there are some really cool examples out there. Like, have you heard of RAPIDx?
RapidX, no, fill me in.
Okay, so picture this. You're a radiologist. You're swamped, right? Like tons of images to look at, trying to make quick decisions.
High pressure situation.
Big time. Now, imagine you have this AI tool, RAPIDx, that's like a second set of eyes, but it's super fast and super accurate.
Sounds like a superpower.
It kind of is. I mean, it can detect stuff like bleeding in the brain from CT scans way faster than a human can. We're talking minutes faster, which can literally be life-saving in an emergency.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and what's really cool? It's already being used in places like Southeast Asia and Europe, so it's not some experimental thing. It's actually out there helping people.
That's wild. It makes you wonder, have you ever encountered any AI tools in your healthcare experiences? Maybe without even realizing it.
It's possible, right? Because AI is kind of sneaking its way into all these different systems behind the scenes. But, and this is where Yuhua really hits the nail on the head. It's not just about the technology.
There's got to be more to it.
Exactly. He says, and I love this analogy, it's like having the fanciest smartphone with all the bells and whistles, but if the battery dies after an hour, what good is it?
Right. It's about practicality.
Totally. You can have the most amazing AI, but if it's not trustworthy or easy to use in the real world, it's not going to be helpful.
So true. Okay, so speaking of helpful, Yuhua actually lays out these 5 key pillars for ethical AI in healthcare.
Ooh, 5 pillars. Love it. Lay 'em on me.
Okay, so the first one is all about enhancing diagnostic accuracy.
So not replacing doctors, but making them better.
Exactly. It's like AI can analyze all this data in real time, during a consultation, and maybe flag potential issues or offer suggestions to the doctor, but ultimately the final decision still lies with the physician and the patient.
Right, it's a collaboration.
It is. Okay, so pillar number 2, and this is a big one, prioritize accessibility.
Because AI shouldn't just be for the privileged few, right?
Exactly. It should be available everywhere, including low-resource areas. UCOT's really talking about addressing healthcare inequality here, which is huge.
That's so important.
It is. And then we've got pillar number 3, user-centric design.
Ah, yes, make it easy to use.
Precisely. Doctors and nurses are already stretched so thin they don't need some complicated software to make their lives harder.
No one wants to spend an hour trying to figure out how to log in.
Right. It's got to be intuitive. It's got to integrate smoothly into their existing workflow.
It's like if you get a phone update and suddenly you can't find anything, that's super frustrating. Imagine that in a life or death situation.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got accuracy, accessibility, usability. What's next?
Well, pillar number 4 is a big one, building trust through transparency and data privacy.
Because this is healthcare, we're dealing with really sensitive information.
Exactly. And AI, it learns from data, right? But in healthcare, that data is incredibly personal.
Your medical records, your history, everything.
Right. So protecting that information, being transparent about how it's being used, that's non-negotiable.
Especially with all those data breaches you hear about these days. You definitely don't want your medical records ending up on the wrong side of the internet.
For sure. And then finally, pillar number 5, real-world validation.
So, putting it to the test?
Yep. Because it's not enough to test these AI tools in a perfect lab setting. They need to be tested in the real world, in diverse environments, with all the messiness that comes with it.
Like taking that fancy car for a spin, not just on a smooth highway, but also on those bumpy back roads.
Exactly. Make sure it can handle anything.
I love that analogy. Okay, so we've got these 5 pillars, right? And they all raise some pretty important questions about leadership and responsibility.
Right, because the people making decisions about AI in healthcare, they have a huge impact on how this technology is developed and how it's used.
And ultimately, that impacts real lives.
No pressure, right?
Fiercely. It's like UCOT is sending this message to healthcare leaders, like, hey, you've got a big responsibility here. So it makes you think, even if we're not healthcare bigwigs, what can we do to advocate for ethical AI?
That's a great question because, if we can use AI to create a more equitable and trustworthy healthcare system, why wouldn't we?
I know, right? It feels like we all have a role to play here. Maybe it's researching the AI tools being used in our own communities or starting conversations about the ethical implications.
Yeah, or even just being more aware of how AI is already impacting our healthcare experiences.
Absolutely. The future of healthcare is being shaped right now, and it's a conversation that everyone should be a part of.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
See ya!